Good evening, everyone. It's so amazing to see a full house here at in the heart of Gujarat, right here in Ahmedabad. Good evening, everyone. Great. So everyone is awake. Unlike the markets nowadays, which have been extremely weak, extremely scary. Every morning you get up, you read the newspaper, you watch the TV, and you're like, oh my God, is this a repeat of 2008 or not? So this is an ET Now initiative. We've been in Gujarat for a whole week now, 1st to 5th of February, and today is the concluding event. And our endeavor is really to help all of you tackle with this fear in the market right now, help you stay invested all of 2016, considering we're just starting the year right now. And yes, help you better your portfolio. So to answer all your questions, all your stock queries, all the fears and questions that you may have about this current volatile market where you're hearing everything about crude, about China, about US interest rates, to solve all those mysteries and queries, I have three experts right here with me. Dipan Mehta, member at BSE. I also have Pankaj Sharma, MD at Equirus, and Vipul Shah, Head of Research at Networth Limited. Please give them a big hand and round of applause. Now first, Dipan, this fear which we wake up to every morning, or rather sleep with every night before going to bed, I check the US equities and I'm like, oh my God, what will happen tomorrow? What is going on with the world?
Yeah, well, I think it's a complicated world. And, someone said that since 2008, this is the new order. And the new order is filled with a great deal of volatility, and everything is interconnected. So although on the face of it, India is not impacted by a China slowdown or a US slowdown, but FIIs, who are the biggest players in India, they react to these developments abroad, and we have a risk on or a risk off trade. And what we have just now is a risk on trade, which means that money is moving out from emerging markets. And what we are facing in our stocks and equities is basically collateral damage. But the bright spot is us Indians itself. And 2015 saw the highest ever inflow of domestic mutual funds into equities in the history of the capital market. And many Indians are now looking at equities in a very positive light. And slowly but steadily, our Indian institutions and Indian investors are becoming a counterbalancing force to the FIIs, who have been dictating the terms on our market for the past 15-20 years or so. I think that this volatility is something that we have to live with, and it's part and parcel of investing in equities. If you're going to be expecting higher returns, at least higher returns than FDs or debt market, there is some payoff, and that payoff is this volatility which we are seeing just now.
Vipul, the question that I think about when I recall 2008, or ever since the Modi government has come into power, why should India be bogged down with what's happening in the US or China? We have a great government with the bestest intentions. Crude prices going down are on our side. Demystify for us, why are we getting impacted for what is happening in the US, what the US Fed is going to do, or what is going on in China?
See, India has a couple of Ds in its favor, that is demand, demography, democracy. But before D comes C, that is crude, currency, and China. So we can't ignore them. Now, let me start with China. Now, China is an $11 trillion economy. It's the second largest after US, or maybe third if we consider Europe as an economy. So it's a very big economy, and obviously it has an impact on world markets. Now, post 2008-9 crisis, what we have seen that the China's growth was entirely led by debt, and it was more skewed towards investment in fixed assets. And if you consider the China's debt to GDP ratio has climbed from around 150% in 2007 to around 300% right now, at par with many developed economies, or even more than that. Now, this kind of debt levels or fixed asset investment cannot continue in long run. So right now China is in reset mode. So they are they're transforming their economy from investment-led, manufacturing-led, export-led economy to consumption and service-led economy. Now obviously this transformation is a long-term process. So short-term, obviously it will not be without pain, or it will not be smooth, and we are witnessing that. This is on one front. Second front, what has happened that because of the higher supply of crude and China has reduced consumption of a lot of commodities. Many commodity economies are under stress, and their currencies also. Europe and Japan is also struggling with growth despite ultra easy monetary policies. If I have to comment on US, the strong US dollar as well as the stress in other economies also now affecting US growth. Now, if you see the interest rate future, it is not pricing any Fed hike in 2016. So people are concerned about growth in US itself. Now, considering all these factors, and the fact that Chinese yuan has not depreciated against US dollar significantly, despite the fact that there are a lot of worrying factors for Chinese economy, there are expectations that Chinese yuan will depreciate significantly against US dollar. And this coupled with the debt overhang, it will be a lethal combination. So we might be having a vicious cycle, which may be painful to the world market, including equities, currencies, credit also. However, having said that, whenever there is a crisis, we have a response. And the bigger the crisis, the response is equally bigger. So we are living in a world where we are printing money, we have a lot of monetary options available. If the short-term solution to any problem is easy money, the long-term solution is more easy money. So obviously China has a lot of tools available, monetary as well as fiscal, to pass through this phase. And last few days also you must have seen that US dollar also started depreciating against euro and yen. So this will also reduce pressure on China to depreciate its currency. So net I'm hopeful that China will have a soft landing, and if it happens, then it will emerge as the second largest consumer after US, and will be another growth driver for the world economy. So India will be a big beneficiary if they have a soft landing. But obviously we have a tail risk of hard landing in China, so we can't ignore that.
We can't ignore the big C. But Pankaj, how do you keep calm and stay invested? Because when you look at your portfolio, when you look at the trading screen, you're back to pre-2013 levels. The pain may not even be over. So how do you keep calm and continue making returns, continue identifying companies which deliver good returns, the likes of a Bajaj Finance, Vijaya Bank. Today we saw Lupin's numbers. The stock jumped up in an otherwise weak market. How do you identify such companies even in a weak global economic scenario?
I think that's a very good question, Aisha, but let me start with a question for the audience and everybody in the room. Whenever you see your tangible portfolio, which includes gold, real estate, and you see that the prices have declined 20%, you are okay. But your intangible assets, which includes your stocks, if that portfolio declines by 20%, you are more worried. So this is our psychology, which makes us more concerned when our intangible portfolio declines in value. So let's say if you look at gold, if somebody would have put in money in FDs 2 years back, he would have made at least 25% more versus gold. Similarly, if you look at whatever is happening in the real estate market, 2010, 2011, somebody would have invested in real estate. Definitely, he would have been better off he had invested in FDs or even stocks. So this is very much related with human psychology, first of all. So in this kind of situation, where, as Deepan rightly said, that it's a very, very volatile bird, the volatility is not going to go away. And in this kind of a situation, the only thing which you can do to protect your portfolio is look at the companies and look at the stocks which are of very high quality and where you have some kind of earnings visibility. And that's very, very important. Like if you look at, if you sort out your portfolio and if you find that there are only 3 or 4 stocks out of 10 which have these two things. One is earnings visibility. I'm not saying it should be 20% or 25%, but at least 10%, 12%, 15% kind of earnings growth. Second is you're very, very sure about the quality of the company, and that is how we move forward. And it's something which is, again, a combination of both art and science, but if you have been doing it for a very long time, you would be immediately able to understand whether I'm sticking to this particular stock just because I think that I've lost a lot of money and probably I'll make up for that loss in next 3 years, but that is something which is not going to work. Probably we might do well in terms of our indices, in terms of our markets in next 3 years, but I'm very, very sure that You will do better if you stick to quality companies which have earning visibility.
Acha, I have a question rather for the audience. How many of you trade and invest? Raise your hands. That's it? Okay, more hands. We need a lot more convincing here, Dipan. What is that one ray of hope that this is still going to go on? We will see a convincing bull market going forward from here. Is there that one sign that we will still make phenomenal returns, maybe not this month, but a year, 2 years from now? Do you feel hopeful of it?
Yeah, absolutely. And these are cycles. We have seen such cycles play out in the past. In 2008 also, our markets were hammered down because of global crisis. It happened again in 2011-12 as well. And it is happening again. And if you go back into history, every time there is a problem globally and FIs are selling, and our markets are down 15-20% or so, and if you bought good quality, strong companies, as Pankaj said, and if you invested in them in the long run for 2-3 years or so, returns have been fabulous, to say the least. Now, Vipul spoke about the demographics, and that's a very important point, because what is happening in the country, and I don't need to repeat it, is that we are growing at that 7% type of a growth rate, and that can be sustained for a long period of time, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years also. So when you have a 7-8% type of a GDP growth rate, there are many businesses which will grow at double that rate, which is 15%, 17%, 20% or thereabout. And if an investor is focused on those sectors or those businesses where he's getting that 15 to 20% type of a growth rate top line, and 15% top line, mind you, translates to about 20% type of bottom line growth because of operating leverages. So if you build a portfolio of quality companies which you expect will grow by 15 to 25%, then that basically is going to be the returns which you're going to get in the markets. And mind you, a 15% return over a long period of time, compounded, tax-free, is by far the best investment option for the average Indian, considering what trends we are seeing in real estate or gold for that matter, or some of the other debt market, or some of the other investment avenues. So you have to keep your eye on the ball that we were looking for companies which will grow by 15 to 25%. If a company is growing by 15 to 25%, be sure that after all the volatility is over and done with, you will get this company generating a return on your investment of 15 to 25%, which whatever the growth rates are. Basically, returns of a company track the growth rate of the company. And if you can identify and remain invested in those businesses for a long period of time, then you end up making fabulous returns. And we all have seen that. I think if you just go back 2-3 years ago, some of the mid-cap stocks, the blue chip stocks of today, like say Eicher Motors or even Lupin for that matter, or Bajaj Finance, they were like a fraction of what they are quoting just now. And they've gone up 3 times, 5 times, 7 times in the last 3-4 years or so. And this will repeat itself. It's just a question of being in the right stocks and having the right temperament and the right attitude and approach towards.
Vipul, I just feel that it's got to do a lot with Indian mentality as well. We want a house first, lots of gold in the bank or in our lockers first, and then whatever's left goes to equity markets. At a time when gold is not giving you returns, it may have gone up marginally over the last 3 months, but gold has done nothing in terms of a 1-year return. Real estate prices, we all know, are crashing down, and they may go down even further. If you're in the right stocks, that has still made money. Help us understand, at a time like this, it is equities, and would you agree with me that is going to give you returns, regardless of what the macro scenario is?
See, issue with the investors' mentality is that while they invest in real estate, they never look price daily. So they always look for a 10-year period. Or even if someone is buying gold, it must be for the future generation. Whatever events is coming, marriage of a daughter, something like that. And we have a tendency that whenever we invest in equity, we try to watch it daily.
Because you have so many channels, you're eating out to track every day.
So one critical factor to be successfully generating a reasonable return for equity is you should have a long-term perspective, you should have a discipline, and you should have patience. So we need to cultivate, or rather, investor has to or need to cultivate those habits. Unless we have that kind of mindset, to generate a significant outperformance over these kind of assets will be very difficult, will not be that easy. So that is one advice I have for investors. So keep a long-term perspective, be disciplined, do a SIP kind of things, and have patience. And obviously, having said that, no, the kind of company you should invest is obviously, Pankaj said that no, it should have high quality and a reasonable earning visibility and should be available at reasonable price. So if we stick to these basics, I feel that no, equities are the asset class which will outperform all other asset class going forward.
In the next 1 year?
Yeah, next 1 year, very difficult to say. But if you ask me 5 year, 10 year view, obviously, particularly in deflationary environment, when every other asset class is in deflation, equity is the only asset class. Whenever you are investing in equity, actually you are investing in a business. So business can generate a continuous return, whereas gold or maybe for that matter commodities or real estate, if it is unproductive side, they don't have a tendency to generate continuous return on earning side. So having said that, equities are obviously the best performing asset class if you have a 10-year view. 1 year is difficult, that's why I'm saying you need a long-term view and patience.
No, I asked on behalf of the audience. I'm sure that was their thinking. What about 1 year? But you know, Deepan, equities is the most beautiful way, like Vipul just mentioned, that you can own a piece of a company's pie. You may not be able to afford a Jaguar car, but you can definitely buy a Tata Motors stock. Help us understand, how do you go out there and pick stocks and companies? How do you get the pulse of the market? What is going to do well from, say, now in the next 5 years from now?
See, first of all, identifying stocks and managing a portfolio is a kind of a full-time job. So either the investor is prepared to, do the study and then, track the companies, understand the businesses and invest and allocate accordingly, or he's better off being in mutual funds or allocating that money to a fund manager or a portfolio manager. So I would say, just as you don't, kind of file your own tax return or do your own operation or fight your own legal cases, the same thing applies to equity as well. If you want to put serious money in the market, like 25-30% of your net worth, then you need an expert to help you, or you become the expert yourself. Now, having said that, I think, trying to explain which stocks to get into and what the whole investment theories are and how you should try and apply them, that's a subject in itself which takes years and years to understand.
So since you all are in safe hands of these three experts, I'm going to throw it open to the audience. Let's get some questions that you may have about the markets, about different companies, about the stocks maybe you hold.
નિફ્ટીની 50 માંથી 15 કંપનીઓ ગઈકાલે 52 લો બનાવ્યો. કંપનીઓ ચારે ક્વાર્ટરમાં ગ્રોથ કરેલો 50 કંપનીઓ, કોઈએ ડિક્લાઇન નથી કર્યું, સિવાય કે ડિસ્કો કે મેટલ શેર હોય તો. તેમ છતાં ભાવમાં ગ્રોથ નથી આવતો શેરના.
देखिए, ये जो कारण है, ये कारण वही है कि बहुत शॉर्ट टर्म में ऐसा हो सकता है कि आपकी जो कंपनी की परफॉर्मेंस है और कंपनी जैसा कामकाज दिखा रही है, जिस तरह की प्रॉफिट दिखा रही है, उसको शायद मार्केट इग्नोर करे. जैसा कि विपुल भाई ने बोला कि बहुत सारे ग्लोबल फैक्टर्स आज मार्केट को इन्फ्लुएंस करते हैं, और अगर मार्केट 20% नीचे जा रहा है तो उस केस में सबके ऊपर कुछ ना कुछ इम्पैक्ट आता ही है. अब यहाँ पर ये कहना कि 3 महीने में कंपनी का परफॉर्मेंस बहुत अच्छा था लेकिन भाव गिर गया, वो जरूर संभव है, ऐसा हो सकता है. लेकिन मैं वही बोल रहा हूँ आपसे कि कोई भी एक, अगर आप देखें कि जिन भी कंपनीज ने मार्केट में अच्छा परफॉर्म किया है, उनका परफॉर्मेंस डेफिनेटली 3 या 5 साल के ऊपर अगर आप देखेंगे तो हो सकता है डेफिनेटली. जैसे कि पिछले साल भर में काफी सारे ऐसे स्टॉक हैं जिनका की प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी भी है, सेल्स ग्रोथ भी कुछ ना कुछ हो ही रहा है, फिर भी भाव में कमी आई है बिकॉज हमारा मार्केट ही मई 2014 के लेवल पे दोबारा वापस आया और उससे भी नीचे है. तो वो फर्क पड़ता है कंपनी की परफॉर्मेंस को. लेकिन अगर आप 3 से 5 साल के ऊपर देखें तो कोई भी स्टॉक मार्केट इग्नोर नहीं कर सकता, कोई भी मार्केट नजरअंदाज नहीं कर सकता. सूनर और लेटर फंडामेंटल्स वुड प्ले the role and their part, and it will happen. So it might be possible 3 months, 6 months. Again, as I said, that even scientists like Newton have made losses in markets. So nobody is immune to that. People would definitely have that problem, but that is a short-term problem. If 5 years time frame is there, अगर आप उस टाइम फ्रेम के हिसाब से देखेंगे तो डेफिनेटली कंपनी की परफॉर्मेंस को मार्केट नजरअंदाज नहीं कर सकता लगातार, पॉसिबल नहीं है.
Yes.
GST, sir. What do you think about GST, sir?
मेरी व्यक्तिगत राय है कि बजट सेशन में जीएसटी का पास होना बहुत मुश्किल है।
See, other than
Vipul, you take that question.
see, as I mentioned earlier, no, we have a couple of C's to worry. One is crude and currency, and we have one more C domestically to worry, that is Congress. So considering that, no, GST pass होगा कि नहीं होगा, it's a wild guess.
Yes, one last question.
Good evening. There are many in the audience who are worried about metals, but my thing is that the market is always edgy where the companies have high debt. Now the problem for metal in Tata Steel, I think, is two. Then I am coming to the question. They acquired Chorus in 2007. That was a big decision, 30,000 crore investment. Then that China factor came there. Same thing in India, they invested in Kalingnagar plant, another 30,000 crore, 60,000 debt on the books in the balance sheet, and demand is almost stagnant. Now, how the promoters made such decision of making such huge investments when there is no demand? So just liking at Risco or Reliance will not make any sense. So this, as a common man, if we can find such simple questions, such things would not have come to the analysts or.
See, मैं मतलब इसको क्वेश्चन को आई थिंक दो पार्ट में बांट के देखना चाहूँगा। पहला ये कि जो गलती मैनेजमेंट ने की, क्या वो एक ऐसी गलती थी जिसको कि सिर्फ स्ट्रैटेजिक एरर कहेंगे, मार्केट को रीड करने में, डिमांड को रीड करने में, फ्यूचर को रीड करने में गलती हुई, और कुछ ऐसी गलती हैं जो कि इंटेंट की गलतियां हैं, जहां पर कि ज़्यादा पेनल्टी देनी चाहिए, ज़्यादा मार्केट को उन्हें डिसलाइक करना चाहिए। अब जैसे कि एक्विजिशन की अगर बात करें तो सेम ग्रुप ने जब जैगुआर लैंड रोवर एक्वायर किया था तो काफ़ी सारे लोग नेगेटिव थे, लेकिन आज देखिए कि उस कंपनी की वजह से टाटा मोटर्स को बहुत फ़ायदा है, और वो कंपनी, अगर आप ये भी कहें कि वो उस कंपनी के लिए एक जीवनदायक औषधि की तरह साबित हुआ है, तो डेफिनेटली वो बात सही होगी। तो स्ट्रैटेजिक गलतियां मैनेजमेंट से भी हो सकती हैं। स्ट्रैटेजिक गलतियां जिस तरह से हम और आप स्टॉक को चुनने में करते हैं, वैसे वैसे स्ट्रैटेजिक गलतियां मैनेजमेंट भी कर सकता है डिसीजन लेने में। और एक्विजिशन कुछ उसी तरह का मामला है जहां पर कि हमेशा आपके डिसीजन ठीक नहीं होते, हमेशा आपके डिसीजन गलत नहीं होते, लेकिन इतना जरूर कहा जा सकता है कि जो एक्सपीरियंस है पिछले 10 से 15 सालों का हिंदुस्तान की कंपनियों का, इंडिया की कंपनियों का बाहर जाके एक्वायर करने में, उससे ये निष्कर्ष जरूर निकलता है कि उसमें और ज़्यादा सोच, रिसर्च और असेसमेंट की ज़रूरत है। बिकॉज जनरली हमारे पास ऐसे उदाहरण ज़्यादा हैं जहाँ पे कि बाहर के एक्विजिशन काम नहीं किए हैं, गलती साबित हुए हैं, और जो अच्छा एक्विजिशन साबित हुए हैं वैसे एग्जाम्पल थोड़ा कम है। तो मैं इस बात से पूरी तरह सहमत हूँ, लेकिन स्ट्रैटेजिक एरर और इंटेंट का एरर हमें जरूर देखना चाहिए, और उस हिसाब से इस चीज़ को देखा जाए तो ज़्यादा अच्छा है।
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/etnow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at etnowlive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/etnow.